From my previous videos focusing on hip mobility and joint articulation, I have received from you some really great questions, and I wanted to just take 5 minutes to go over those questions for you today. This is going to be focusing on people with slightly lower mobility. So if that's you, or if you're just interested to learn more, find yourself a comfortable seat and we will begin. We'll begin again in wide angle. So we'll start with questions around bending the knees. If you cannot sit with your legs straight like this at a comfortable angle, then yes, you can bend your knees. The thing about bending your knees is if it sends you too far back and you support with your hands here, it strains your psoas. So if I sit like this, instantly I can feel my psoas clenching. That's not a feeling I like. So if you are going to bend your knees, feel as though you could gently rest the torso, so the trunk of the body forward. So almost resting down, the weight's coming down through your thighs, and then you can gently articulate through the joints here. You can practice rolling through the joints. So that's one alternative. The other alternative is to see if you can practice with one leg in front of you and the other one bent. So again, you rest the weight of the torso forward, and here you can roll on the knee and then begin to use the weight of the head and the shoulders moving down the spine to loosen and free up some space in the hips. And then move on to the other side and practice to let the exploration unfold. So you can start with your hips facing the front of your mat, but then as you gently move, you can begin to twist a little bit and face your front leg as you explore. And it's just a little bit easier than having both of your legs out. And of course, this is something that you build up to over time. And the more you practice, the more space you will find. I did have a question about using a block. And in the tradition of Vanda Scaravelli, we don't actually use any props. And I'm going to show you why. So I have a block here. If I sit up on it and have my legs out, I instantly feel overextension in the back of my knee. So if you are going to practice on a prop, you would again want your knees to be bent. So that's why we don't actually use props, because they can, we're interested in building a natural relationship with the floor. And as soon as you're propping yourself up in some way, there's going to be some compensation through the body that might not necessarily be helpful. So that's the questions I had for wide angle. I also had some questions for pigeon, so let's look at those. So when we begin pigeon, we begin in this stance. And if you have low articulation in the hip joints, I would just be staying here. Again, you want to rest the weight of your body forward and just gently begin to articulate through the back hip. So you feel how it is to roll the back hip in. And if you cramp, stop, take a breath. And then just very slowly keep rolling until again maybe there's cramping. The cramping is just because it's an unfamiliar movement, and the more you do it, the more fluid it becomes, and the less the muscles around cramp because you've practiced, cultivated the movement. So if you are low mobility in this posture, that's what I would recommend. And then you can build up to gently turning. And when you have that nice fluid movement, however long it takes, 6 months, a year, then gently begin to move the legs out and do the same thing. A really important aspect of Pigeon that I'll just show you to finish is what happens in the lower spine. So if you roll round by compressing the lower spine, you're not really using the intelligence of the hip. Instead, you're just using over compression in the lumbar. So that's a bit of a habit of mine, because it's easy for me to fall into this collapsed shape, and then all of that, the weight of my head and my shoulders is going into the back of my lumbar spine, which is not what we want. So as you articulate round here with the hip, as you roll round, just get the palm of your hand and gently guide your lower belly back. And this lengthens out the back of my spine. I'll show you again. So it can be easy to roll and then just collapse through here. So instead, as I roll, use my hand, guide my belly back so that I have a long lumbar spine. Guide my lower ribs back. And then I can keep articulating through here without compression in the lower spine. So I hope you found those answers to your questions helpful, and I'm really grateful to receive your questions, so keep them coming.